Why do transgender-supporting laws and policies always do more social harm than good? This talk was taken from the book Law Change Regret: The Harmful Social Effects of Transgender Legislation by Stephen Stacy. As most of us can see, transgender-supporting laws and policies are proving to be highly contentious. Those who support these ideas are drawn to have compassion for those who say they prefer to live as members of the opposite sex. Alternatively, those who disagree with these laws and policies may have compassion for the gender dysphoric, but they also see that such laws and policies harm other far larger groups of people, often in far more substantial ways. For example, one natal male who claims to be a woman may have his feelings acknowledged when he is placed in a woman's prison. However, 500 women now have their feelings negated, and also, several of them might now be raped. Whose feelings take priority here? Hence, those who dislike these laws and policies are not transphobic. They are trans legislation phobic. They understand that it makes no sense to seek to have compassion on one person, if, in doing so, the state creates another 500 people who we need to feel compassion for. In this article, I wish for citizens to understand the vast amount of harm that trans legislation creates and realize that we cannot afford the damage. Laws cannot afford to allow a natal male to legally claim they are a female. There is a fundamental philosophical reason why trans legislation always creates far more harm than good. As we seek to navigate the world and build our lives, we all use a simple principle. Living in the physical world shows us that to live life well, there must be harmony between our thoughts or words and physical reality. For example, when someone proposes a new scientific theory, we test this theory in the physical world to see if it tells us something truthful about our universe. The ongoing interaction between the theory and physical reality allows for the eventual verification or debunking of this theory. Do our thoughts, which can go anywhere, align with the fixed reality of natural laws? Hence, this interaction between our thoughts and the physical world forms the basis for rational thought and common sense. And rational thought enables us to build all the useful things we seek to create. And yet again, when a friend makes a promise, and they physically keep that promise, we can build trust. Thus, the ongoing interaction between verbal commitments and the physical substantiation of those promises forms the basis for social trust. In practice, the dynamic interaction between our thoughts and the physical world allows a form of give and take to occur. This give and take generates energy. This energy allows us to build our cities and businesses, to form trusting relationships, and to develop ourselves. One might label this fundamental principle the law of mind and body unity. However, in transgender theory, we are asked to neglect the physical body of the individuals involved. This man thinks he is a woman, therefore, he is a woman. Thus, when such an idea is placed into any trans-supporting law or policy, the reality of the body disappears from the social discussion. The body disappears. Just the mind of the person is represented. Thus, the law of mind and body unity is not present. Hence, in such laws and policies, there is always a loss of rational thought, social trust, and common sense. Accordingly, when scientists are now forced to include natal males who claim to be women in drug trials on natal females, there is no trust in the results, common sense is violated, and, with rational thought being undermined, it is impossible to learn anything useful from the research findings. Also, when natal males are allowed to compete in women's sports, the viewers know that this does not make sense, they will lose trust in the governing bodies, and the ability to make a rational argument that this will improve economic outcomes or build fairness is undermined. And when a politician says, men can get pregnant, most of us think the world has gone mad. Moreover, without the body being represented in these laws and policies, there can be no give and take. Hence, no positive social energy can be generated, no energy at all. Thus, all trans-supporting laws and policies always lead to the decay of any institution in which they are placed. There is no way around this problem. Additionally, when the law detaches gender from sex, from physical reality, there is nothing to connect gender to the real world. All future thoughts about gender are free to go anywhere the activists wish to take them. Just as people can be extremely inventive in science fiction novels, we will eventually be asked to affirm all kinds of nonsense. For example, one day we might be forced to agree that those who say they are cats really are cats who have been born in the wrong body. Or, if we must affirm a 10-year-old's desire to transition, then we must also affirm their wish to have sex. No thought, no matter how ridiculous, is beyond possibility when there is no grounding in physical reality. Our society starts to resemble an insane asylum. There is no limit to the absurdity we might be asked to affirm. No limit at all. Here, we are not talking about bigotry towards those who experience gender dysphoria. We are talking about our inability to build anything useful when laws and policies violate basic principles that are built into the fabric of the universe. I ask readers to imagine what would happen if we broke the law of mind and body unity in another area of life. Consider the chaos that would ensue if our politicians said, all citizens can claim to be the age they feel they are. In consequence, we could not say what the age of a child was at birth. We would have to wait until they were 5 to tell us how old they were. Then, 10-year-olds could claim to be 20, and we would be forced to let them drink, drive, and have sex. The consequences would be appalling. Our children would be a target for abuse by the most unethical in our nation. Also, the use of time itself might become hate speech. How could you harm this person's feelings by saying they are 73 when they say they are only 33 years old? Moreover, age-related research would churn out nonsensical findings. All these bizarre things and more are already happening with the implementation of trans theory. It's already having a very detrimental impact on our STEM fields. Over time, our universities will start to shoot down the world rankings, leading to a vast decline in economic well-being. And those who refuse to go along with the state mandates on this issue, who saw the damage, would be called uncaring and bigoted. Undoubtedly, today, some 60-year-old men and women prefer to live and dress as if they are still in their 20s. Also, some children mature faster than others and dress accordingly. This we can accept. However, we cannot allow them to declare their age based on their feelings. The gender-confused issue is no different. Obviously, there are people who prefer to live as if they are members of the opposite sex. Society needs to accept that there are people who choose to do this. However, the consequences of defying the law of mind and body unity are too terrible to contemplate. We cannot afford the law to tell us that a natal male can be classified as a natal female. In summary, most citizens feel deeply uneasy about the implementation of trans theory into our nation. For example, citizens are uneasy because they can see trans theory comes with a desire to shut down free speech, to limit the ability of citizens to talk about the damage that it causes when placed into the law. And the undermining of free speech undermines our democracy, and what comes next is authoritarianism. We see this power grab in many places. For example, under which democratic norms do a handful of politicians have a right to say you, women, you have to undress in front of this natal male, a male who is still sexually aroused by the female form, because we say so? We cannot afford to lose our democracies just so that some 0.01% of the population can feel a bit better about themselves. Also, citizens are uneasy because they can see that rational thought is being quickly discarded. The language in this area of life is becoming increasingly bizarre and social representatives are saying the most foolish things. Trust in leaders in many fields can no longer be offered. Hence, because this issue riles so many people on so many levels, it is not surprising that it was this issue that removed Mrs. Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister for Scotland, from power. All this is made even more tragic by the reality that the public has never been allowed to vote on this fundamental issue. Women have never been asked if they wish to be violated in so many ways. The public has never been asked, and would never agree to, the redefining of the way we label male and female. Politicians have not been given a mandate to destroy democratic norms or future economic well-being. The Conservative Party in the UK was in power when they passed the 2010 Equality Act. This act allowed citizens to self-declare their natal sex. Let us summarize what this means in practice. Politicians have sided with people who tell lies, with people who say that individuals can change their natal sex, and with people who wish to harm the future well-being of the UK. Now that gender has become disconnected from biological sex, there is no limit to the stupidity of things that we will eventually be forced to affirm. Now that the mind and body construct has been broken within laws and policies, it will happen again, and social decay and delusion will intensify. Even the police are going after those who tell the truth, and head teachers are punishing children for speaking about biological reality. The activists who push forward the transgender issue are using the Marxist marketing strategy to do so. This strategy informs us that, to help these people, we must harm these people, but it will be worth it. The ends justify the means. However, as history has always shown us, it is always the case with Marxism that far more harm is done than good. In having compassion for one group of citizens, the laws create far more people who will later need our compassion. To stop oneself from being dragged into supporting the Marxist marketing strategy, one has to, by oneself, seek to find the far more extensive damage that the Marxist-inspired laws and policies create. The left-wing media is not going to help you. The state, in refusing to allow people to vote on this issue, is rapidly taking the UK down the pathway to authoritarianism. The state, by placing a lie into the law books, has to become authoritarian in its attempts to keep the lies there. In siding with the transgender activists, the state offers the activists more power than other citizens. The activists can hurt the feelings and destroy the careers of their opponents. But their opponents are warned that what they say is controlled by hate speech laws. This is an unfair fight and no way to run a democracy. Because of the social damage caused by the Equality Act, the Conservatives must reform the Act before they leave power. They need to clarify that no one can change their sex and that gender and sex are inextricably tied to each other. Then, to cleanse our social institutions from the toxic effects of trans theory, they need to link state funding to the upholding of mind and body unity. All laws and policies must be grounded in physical reality, or we will end up in cuckoo land. Please do your best to fight transgender theory in your sphere of influence. And, if you are British, please sign the declaration at declarationforbiologicalreality.org. Thank you for listening.